y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Muriel. This is Nurse Muriel. Welcome to all my new subscribers, to my oldies but goodies. How y'all doing? I am Nurse Muriel. I'm a registered nurse and I prefer long-term care. So if long-term care is something you're interested in hearing about, hit the subscribe button and I will keep the videos coming. Today I want to talk about the long-term care nurse in Pennsylvania. I say long-term care, but she may have worked in assisted care as well. But she's been charged, I think she's been convicted, I'm not sure, but I know she's been charged with the deaths of four residents, but confessed to attempting to take the lives of 19 residents. She did so by injecting insulin, fatal doses of insulin, and some of the patients were not even diabetic. If you don't know what insulin is a hormone that is naturally produced by our pancreas, and it helps regulate blood sugar. It helps to lower the blood sugar. By helping glucose leave the blood, it enters the cells. And you know, we store glucose for energy. Which in reverse, y'all know, this is kind of off topic, but the keto diet, it works a little different than that. Instead of you burning your glucose for energy, you're burning fat, which can cause ketoacidosis, which is why a lot of people really need to be careful with doing a keto diet. But that's a whole different subject, y'all. We're talking about the nurse. So this nurse, I can't remember her age. I'm gonna put her picture up here. Her staff members have said that she has been known to say, oh, they haven't died already, or what are they waiting on to die, or things like that, things of that nature. But I'm not sure if she's been charged with 2 or 4 patients, but who knows how many patients she actually, you know, took out of this world by her actions. And let me say, y'all, I made a video a while ago talking about residents being mean and aggressive and, you know, things of that nature. But let me tell you, never in my 21 years as a nurse have I ever thought about taking the life of a patient. Never taking the life of anybody. You know, when those patients are mean and aggressive and stuff like that, I leave their room. Sometimes I leave the facility altogether if it's something that I feel like is stressing me out and I cannot manage. So all I can think is that this nurse is just an evil person. She's just an evil, psychopathic person. We all heard the stories of nurses and doctors who are out here that are supposed to be, you know, helping to save lives or helping to improve the quality of life or help residents or patients maintain a certain standard of health care. But instead they go into these professions, and I believe they go into these professions with the intent on harming people. It makes me wonder how many people outside of their career have they harmed intentionally. I just want to know what's going on with Pennsylvania, y'all. What's going on with these nurses in Pennsylvania? What is going on in Pennsylvania, y'all, in these long-term care facilities? Another story with the nurse in long-term care. That nurse, from what I understand, falsified documentation for neurochecks. From what I understand, I may be wrong, but I think it was a patient passed away or a patient expired post-fall. I don't even know how many hours post-fall, but the nurse, she was fraudulent when she documented neurochecks. I'm going to say neurochecks because y'all know LPNs are not really supposed to assess, but she was documenting neurochecks on the patient post-fall due to the fact that neglect and medical fraud. I don't know what the charges were, but she didn't intentionally cause the demise of that patient. In my eyes, she just failed to act in her nursing role and fraudulently documented care that she wasn't given. This nurse intentionally inflicted harm that caused fatalities, and she did so with the intent of causing those fatalities. Because as a nurse, you know, if you give somebody insulin and their blood sugar drops, it can kill them. And especially if you get someone who's not a diabetic, insulin. Let me tell y'all what happened to me once in my career. I was pulling up a patient's insulin, and when I was pulling it up, this is before they had the needles. I forgot what you call the needles they use now, but these were the ones we actually had to pull up the insulin. And as I was pulling up her insulin, I accidentally stuck myself with the needles. This was some regular insulin, like some Novolog. I accidentally stuck myself with the needle, y'all. And of course, I didn't give that resident that needle. I threw that away. I didn't report it only because that needle hadn't stuck anyone but me. It stuck me, but it injected just a little bit of the insulin in my bloodstream. Y'all, within like an hour or two, I was feeling weak. And I knew it was because I had accidentally injected that little bit of insulin. I mean, the stick was so quick when I injected it that I couldn't have gotten much of the insulin. I didn't push the plunger or anything, but just that little bit of insulin had me feeling so weak. I went and I got me some chips or something. I didn't even check my blood sugar because I already knew what it was. I went and got me some potato chips and got me a soda, and I drank it because I already knew I was feeling like that because my blood sugar was dropping from that little stick of that needle. Now, mind y'all, I should have reported it. Now, don't follow me. I should have reported it because anything could have happened. Anything could have happened. That one stick I could have passed out on that floor within 30 minutes or an hour. But I knew I was feeling like that because I had stuck myself with that needle. Like I said, it was as soon as I had pulled up the insulin, took the needle out the bottle. I'm holding the bottle. When I pulled the needle out, for some reason, I stuck myself in my thumb with the needle, and within an hour I was feeling so weak, y'all, and I knew it was because my blood sugar was dropping. I had never felt like that. This when I was probably in my 20s or early 30s. It was a long time ago. So I can imagine you giving somebody that insulin and they're not even a diabetic, and you giving them a fatal dose, or it don't even take a fatal. I can't even say what a fatal dose is because what's fatal to me may not be fatal to the next person if the next person is a diabetic. Why become a nurse and prey on a vulnerable population? And from what I understand, not all the patients were geriatric. She was doing this to patients that were like in their early 40s. You know, y'all know working in long-term care, every patient isn't a geriatric patient. Some patients are there for therapy, for rehab, because they had certain things done. Some patients are young but aren't from motor vehicle accidents or being born with certain type of physical disabilities or mental disabilities. Their family's not able to take care of them. They're in a facility. Every patient in long-term care is not your 80-year-old grandmother and grandfather. I have worked with patients who are as young as 22 years old, post a motor vehicle accident, who are just not able to do for themselves, and their family put them in a long-term care facility. So she wasn't just doing this to geriatric patients. Not to say if she was doing it to geriatric patients, it would make it better, but I'm just letting you know that I think her youngest patient, they said, was 43 years old. The youngest resident or patient. I'm not even gonna call them a resident because sometimes when you're that young, you're just there for therapy. You're not there to stay. You're not there to reside. You're just there for therapy. So I'm going to say patient. The youngest patient was as young as 43 years old, y'all. Some of the families were finding out about it because she admitted to, I believe, 19 cases of 19. She made 19 attempts. I don't know how many of those 19 she was successful. And some of the family members are responding by saying, they thought that their loved one died from respiratory issues, respiratory failure, different types of issues, and now they're finding out that those patients were actually taken away by a nurse. Like, their life was taken away by a nurse. it's for all these stories coming to light, it's really giving nurses a bad name. It really is. And it may only be 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 nurses we're hearing about, but those nurses make the public skeptical of all nurses. You know, like in some professions, they get like psychological, tests. We don't get vetted like that. We don't take no psychological tests. We don't get vetted like that when we become a nurse. There is no psychological exam that's administered to a nurse. You will never know that this nurse is I don't want to say psycho, because everybody's not psychotic. When every person who takes someone's life is not psychotic. You know who are the first ones to recognize these type of things about their coworkers? Their coworkers, their peers. They said that her peers were even making up names about her, calling her nurse. Oh, I can't remember. If I find it, I'll put it on here. They were saying things about her because they were noticing a pattern with this particular nurse. And the thing about it in healthcare is, especially if you're in long-term care, the process of getting hired and getting started is so quick that you can go from one facility to the next, to the next, to the next within a matter of a day or two. The process in the hospital is a lot more stringent, and the onboarding and from the time you get hired to the time you actually hit the floor working, it may be like 30 days later, you know. It may be a 30-day span when it comes to acute care from the time you get hired to the time you actually hit the floor. But in long-term care, it's like a day. Like you walk in, you get the interview, they can start you within 24 hours if your background check comes back that fast. Yes, they do a background check on you, but the background check is just for criminal behavior. It's nothing with, they do no nothing mental, like they're not finding out if you had these issues or that issue or whatever, mental issues. It's nothing for a nurse to go from one long-term care facility to another, to another, to another. And I believe in some instances she was doing this. She was going from one facility to the next, to the next. But I just wanted y'all to know, if you ever get over, I'm not saying this nurse was overwhelmed. I'm not saying she was overwhelmed. She was just, what I can say about her is she was just evil. Like, she's just evil. Say for the overwhelmed nurse, if you ever feel yourself getting overwhelmed with a patient, just walk out. If your patient is not in any imminent danger, imminent danger of harm, your patient is breathing fine, sats are good, like I said, no imminent danger of harm. If things start escalating with a patient towards you, just walk away. You can walk out the room. You can let the patient know, Mr. So-and-so, I'm just here to help you, but I'm going to give you a few minutes to yourself. I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'll be back in to check on you. And you can walk out. You don't have to sit there and be overwhelmed with 1 or 2 or 3 particular patients. Or you can do like I did that last facility when I said I had to just take a break. I took a break from that facility. I took a break for I was going for 30 days, 45 days, and I wouldn't go back. I didn't go back to that facility. I had to take a break because I was feeling a little overwhelmed by not just the patients, but by the policies of the facility, how they do things. I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and I had to step back, and I had to stop going there, and I just had to take the hit, even though that was the highest paying facility that I was working at that time. The money wasn't worth it to me for my mental state, but it never crossed my mind to do any harm to any of those residents. And I just don't understand a nurse who goes, and I just don't understand a person who goes into this profession just to harm people. Is it going to get to the point where we're going to have to do psychological exams on nurses? The other thing I think facilities need to do is I think facilities need to start talking with their nurses one-on-one and possibly finding out, what do you think about, I hate to say it like this, because when you working with females, it's a lot of personal things, a lot of things going. But I think these management, these administration in these buildings need to start listening to their nurses when their nurses tell them about other nurses. Like, don't just be so happy to have someone to fill the shift that you putting your residents at risk with an unsafe nurse or an unsafe CNA. But in this instance, we're talking about nurses. You need to administration. They really, some of them are hands-on. They know their building. They know the personality of their residents. But let me tell you, there are some administrators and some DONs who couldn't tell you the name of some of their nurses. They couldn't tell you the name of the nurses. And I can understand when a turnover is so great, and even maybe night shift, she doesn't see the nurses. But you're here with your day shift nurses, and you don't even know their names. And you see them all. I just drove into my facility, and I'm about to get in here and clock in and do what I do. Make these coins. That one facility, the agency facility, they canceled me, but my PRN here, they seem to always have something for me to slide in. Somebody always want a day off. All I did was send a message, and I was like, if anybody wants a day off, I'm available. And there's 2 people shot back with a message. But I will talk to you guys later. Y'all have a good day. Bye.